Welcome. Thank you for having us. So my name is Rolf Benirschke. If you're old enough, you might remember that I used to play football a long time ago with the San Diego Chargers. I was a kicker. I know there are some Minnesotans here who are frustrated with their kicker, at least they were last year. Give him another chance. He's a very good kicker. I'm really privileged to be here with this panel of patients to thank you for what you do. Hopefully to have you leave inspired by the hard work that you do, the innovation that you struggle through, the challenges with the FDA, the reimbursement, the payers, all of that hopefully will become real and worthwhile after you hear our stories. We're here because a year ago at AdvaMed, I had the privilege of doing a CEO Unplugged, where we had several patients and several companies share the impact of their device on the patient, and the patient, their impact as a result of that in their lives. They were athletes, but at that time, AdvaMed was moving towards the same shift that healthcare is making, the disruption that's going on in your industry where patient centricity is important, where outcomes are important, where the measurement of value is becoming part of the discussion, not just the cost. Your need to connect with the patient becomes more real. As a result of my illness, I ended up starting a company. We build patient support programs that engage your companies with your patients. Well, in the discussion last year, your leadership recognized it shouldn't stay in a CEO Unplugged, it should be a plenary. So they asked us to put a plenary session together to hear from your patients, the people who benefit from you. It was your wisdom, the leadership of your conference. It was Scott and Ray. It was many of you in this room that wanted to do that. And so it's interesting to follow your senator and congressman and the work they've done, and of course, Scott. This is personal. It's personal to us, but I'm going to suggest it's personal to you. Now, one of the people watching that presentation last year was a new company, at least new in the sense that they wanted to be more engaged with your industry. And that's a company you probably don't think a lot of, a company called FedEx. They are an incredible, important part of your ecosystem. As we listened this morning in the plenary, you had payers, you had the device manufacturers, you had hospital systems, you had IBM Watson, all talking about the only way we're going to actually make the difference that we all want as patients is if you work together. Well, FedEx is an important part of that, as I'll share with you in a little while. So I sit here, I used to say I'm the most grateful patient there is. But as I look down here, I think we probably have arguments from the other four panelists here. But let me quickly share with you my story. So I was raised in a medical family. My dad was actually a physician, one of the world-renowned placental pathologists, wrote the definitive text, taught at Harvard and Dartmouth, and then moved our family to UC San Diego. So I was raised in this medical family. I have an older brother that followed the calling. He's an orthopedic surgeon, and he's worked with several of your companies developing new foot and ankle devices. And I became sort of the black sheep of the family when I was drafted into the NFL and tried to explain to my father that my job had some value. I didn't win that argument very often until my life changed 2 years into my career. I would play 10 years as a place kicker for the Chargers during the Dan Fouts and Don Coryell years. But in my second season, I was diagnosed with Crohn's disease. Now, I'm a football player, but really I'm a kicker, and so you would argue maybe he's not really a football, I'm a kicker. And I'm playing a sport where guys are getting concussed and tearing their knees. And for all intents and purposes, I had a bad stomachache with diarrhea. And I was the only kicker. You're either the starting kicker or you're unemployed, so I kept my head down and continued to play. But by the last month of that season, I was playing the game on Sunday. Sunday night, they'd take me to a hospital. They'd put a central line in my neck, and I'd be fed intravenously all week. Saturday, they would pull it out. They'd allow me to go back to the team, stay the night at the hotel, play the game on Sunday, and Sunday night, they'd put me back in the hospital, and I'd get another central line. So I lived on your products way back in '78. I finished that season. If you look at the 10 years of my career, that's one of the best statistical years of my life, but it should have been a footnote that said the unkicker was dying. I tried to come back and play the next season. 4 games into it, collapsed on a plane. Flying home, we just played the Patriots. Came home, landed. My father picked me up, took me to the hospital. I needed emergency surgery. My colon had perforated. There were complications. 6 days later, I had a second surgery, and I woke up in the same hospital where my father was practicing, and the doctor's telling him, "We don't think your son's going to survive the night." I think the Lord stepped in, and I got great medical care, but I woke up 65 pounds below my playing weight with 2 ostomy bags on my side. I would spend 6 weeks in the intensive care, 2 more weeks in the hospital, released the care of my parents, looking around, what just happened? And where do I go? And why? Why should I even live? There's nothing in my life I thought I could do. I loved athletics. I'm thinking I'll never play athletics again. I got 2 bags on my side. I'm making my living as a professional football. I'm never going to do that in my mind. And I was single and 24, and who's ever going to marry me? It turns out, because of new products I was wearing, I could play all the sports I loved to play. I returned to play 7 more years with the Chargers, 4 of those with bags on my side. And I married the most beautiful girl in the world who's here today. I got everything I had dreamed for. And I'm here because of your innovation, your desire to make life better for us. Our first child was a preemie, born at 2 pounds, 27 weeks, 2.5 months in the NICU. Your products kept her alive. She's 23 today. That's my story. Now, first of all, how about a hand for our panel one more time for just sharing your stories. You know, there's a lot of discussion about values and outcomes. And I would suggest experience. The experience component to what you do, your patient experience, is really important. Engage us. We want to be part of your decision making. But how do you value what you just heard? How do you value the impact Mark's story has on the thousands, the tens of thousands of people who are going to check off, donate your organs, and the lives those will touch? You can't. How can you do the same with Paul? The awareness he's bringing to cardiac arrest, or Bill and Jackie, the stories they tell, and the AEDs that they now are making sure are all over the place. You remind me of, I share with you, I love to read history stories. You remind me of a man named Martin Treptow. He was a simple barber from Iowa. He enlisted in the Army National Guard in World War I, and he was soon called up to active duty, where he became part of the famous Rainbow Division, made up of guardsmen from 26 states. In France in 1918, under heavy fire from the German enemies, he was asked by his superior officer to dispatch an order to another platoon. So Private Treptow moved his way across the battlefield, trying to accomplish his mission, but on the way was fatally wounded. When his body was found, stuffed in his shirt was his personal diary, and on the flyleaf he had written his own manifesto titled, "My Pledge." This was his personal charter. Quote, "America must win this war. Therefore I will work, I will save, I will sacrifice, I will endure. I will fight cheerfully and do my utmost, as if the issue of the whole struggle depended on me alone." Private Treptow believed in America. He understood the gravity of the situation. He was ready to work, to save, to sacrifice, and endure, even to the point of death, to make his contribution, as if it all depended on him alone. All of you leaders out there that run these big companies, you work, you sacrifice, you persevere, and you do it every day, as if the lives of the patients you seek to serve depend upon you alone, and they do. So our plea to you, as individual companies, as innovators, as an association, please keep working, keep innovating, keep developing more life-saving and more life-saving products, so that there will be more patient stories that you'll get to hear. So from the bottom of our hearts, we want to thank you again. Have a great conference, and remember to keep the patient in mind. Thank you very much.